In the past 1 year, I have dropped down 15 pounds, put 50 watts onto my 5-minute power, and 45 watts onto my 10-minute, 20-minute, and 60-minute power, all while doing it under a time crunch with under 6 hours a week to train. And so if you're a cyclist with very little time available to train, you're busy, you have a job, you have a family, you have a life, and you still want to be able to see numbers like this, drop weight, and increase your power, you've come to the right video. I'm Ely, strength coach for cyclists. Let's dive in. Today, no quote on my cup, just E for Ely, or for elite. It's black today, no milk in my coffee. Okay, so first thing you need to know is your training must be structured. It must be intentional and it must be intelligent. We already know that strength training specifically does increase your FTP. Don't believe me? Check out this video that I made almost 3 months ago now, where I go into the research and things that you can do. Now, the more advanced you become with your training, the less winging it you can do. The reason for it is because when you're a beginner, anything you do will benefit you. But the more advanced you become, you won't be able to just do random things. Think of it like this. If you want to become an astronaut, I don't know, how to become an astronaut. The road to an astronaut starts in elementary school. And in elementary school, you're learning all this random stuff. There's a vast information. You got a little bit of social studies, a little bit of geography, a little bit of math, a little bit of science. Then in high school, you get a little bit more specialized. You got physics, which is really important. And then after that, you go into university, and then you go into engineering or get a degree in computer science or mathematics. And after that, you have to get a little bit even more specific and go to NASA and pass their exam. And you have to have 1,000 hours in command of an aircraft and simulation training and all of this stuff. So we started very, very general, elementary school. You're learning everything, to very specific. Now you're going to NASA. Now you're doing NASA's tests. Now you gotta get your pilot training. Now you gotta be able to pass their engineering tests. If you're an astronaut watching this and you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I didn't do any of that. I apologize. This is what Google's telling me. But the more advanced you get into this journey, the more specific your training is going to have to get to see the results that you want. Because that 2.0 version of you, the version that you want to see next year at this time, is not just going to arrive on a whim. They need structure, they need a plan, and they need consistency. That plan has to be intelligent. It has to fit into your life, around your goals, your obstacles, your injuries, your limitations, your strengths, your weaknesses, around the systems that need to be developed for your event or race or whatever you're competing for or training for. You need to be able to plan your workout, adjust your workouts when life and things get in the way. You need to understand the goals that you are training for and the demands that it's going to place on your body and how to train for those demands. And you have to also understand the way your body reacts and how it adapts. And what does periodization look like? How long will it take my body to react to this specific type of training? What does training stress score mean? What is intensity factor? How long should I be training for? How frequent should I be training? How intense should it be? And it's even more important to have this kind of structure and intentionality when you don't have much time to train, because you don't have much time to train. And so you have to use that time wisely. So you might as well do everything the right way from the beginning rather than wasting your time. And so the way I see it, you have to have a structured plan, and you have two options for this. Option number one, you could research all of the proper training techniques. You could self-test and look at your testing results and analyze the information and start putting together a plan. You could tweak the program and the plan to adjust for your life, the obstacles. You have family time. Today you're at your job, you're waking up at 5 a.m. and not getting home till 10 p.m. And so you have to adjust the training plan. You could learn about the body, the physiology, the exercise science, periodization, the muscle groups, the movement patterns, and develop an understanding how all of this is connected to each other. You could somehow probably motivate yourself to work out even when you don't have time and there's no one keeping you accountable. And all of that takes a lot of time. Option number two, you could hire a professional and simply just concentrate on your workouts. Because here's the way I see it, and maybe hopefully the way you see it too. There's value in your time. I heard a quote recently and it's been really sticking with me. Rich people buy time, poor people buy stuff. Ambitious people buy education, lazy people buy distraction. Chances are if you're watching this, you're probably one of the rich and ambitious. Why? Because you're a cyclist. You already push yourself hard. If you push yourself hard physically, you're probably pushing yourself hard with your job. You're probably the one who doesn't give up, and that just means success. And so you could just hire a professional. Save your time learning about the body and physiology and exercise science and programming, and spend that time that you save doing what you love, aka riding your bike. You see, that's why I do this stuff. Every morning I wake up and spend 2 hours at 5 in the morning learning about this stuff, learning about exercise science, learning about what the difference between hypertrophy is versus hyperplasia, learning about how your cells and how the body reacts to the training, learning about exercise science, physiology, periodization, learning about all of this stuff so that you don't have to, so that you can spend your time as efficiently as possible riding your bike and seeing the results that you want to see. That's why you need structure, and that's why, especially if you're under a time crunch, you need that structure even more than a regular person does. So let's talk about what you can do on the bike and in the gym to save you time and be as efficient as possible with your training. Number one, on the bike. If you don't have time, increase the intensity. We hear a lot about zone 2 these days. Zone 2, long, slow rides. Guess what? If you don't have that much time, it's hard to really see the benefits of zone 2. If you're only training for 1 hour, hour and a half, it's better to do something higher intensity because that zone 2 is not really going to benefit you. You're not getting the adaptations because it's not long. Zone 2 is great if you have a lot of time to train, but if you don't, the higher intensity stuff, working threshold and anaerobic capacity, neuromuscular sprints, sweet spot, all of that stuff, and doing intervals are actually going to benefit you a lot more. Why? Because they give you both the adaptations for that and a lot of the same adaptations that zone 2 work gives, such as increased stroke volume, decreased resting heart rate, increased VO2 max, increased mitochondria content, and myoglobin. A lot of these adaptations that zone 2 gives you, the high intensity work gives you as well. And so by doing the high intensity work, you get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Is that it? It's a little bit graphic. Did you catch? But you get to do 2 in 1 here. For in the gym, there's a lot of things that you want to be focusing on, especially if you're strength training. You know, you got your main movements like your squats, your deadlifts, your presses, your pull-ups. Those are called compound movements. You have your accessory work, you have your core work, you have your breath work, you have soft tissue work, upper body, mobility. All of these things are coming together in the gym. And guess what? If you're under a time crunch, it's hard to fit everything in. So what can you do today? Combine things. That is the most efficient way to get your training in and not skimp out or skip anything. So what do I mean by combining? Well, you can combine a compound movement like the deadlift with a row, and you can get both the deadlift and the row in at the same time. Or you can combine your soft tissue work with some mobility work. So while you're foam rolling, you could also be doing some stretch and mobility as well. Or you could combine your core work with your breath work at the same time. There's a lot that you can be doing combining. Now, the pros of this are that you get to get everything in and be as efficient as possible. The cons are it's really hard to focus on one thing because there's so many things happening at once. For example, it's hard for you to focus on the starting strength or acceleration strength of a movement when you're focusing on doing that movement plus another movement plus your breath work plus engaging your core. And you already have so many things going around in your mind, so it's really hard to nitpick one specific thing. But here's what I will say. It's better to focus on quality, not quantity. So rather than getting 20, 25 sets across your whole workout and you did all 20 of your reps and you did everything, it's better to focus on getting a few quality reps and call it there if you don't have that much time, than getting a bunch of poor quality reps in where your movement isn't done properly and you're not really engaging what you want to engage and you're just going through the motion. Because all the work that you're doing, poor quality and good quality, are going to affect your nervous system, going to affect how you adapt to the training, and are going to affect your work on the bike and the results you see months down the line. So might as well do a few things well than a lot of things poorly. All right, if you're under a time crunch, here's another thing that you want to know, because people often ask me, what should I train first? Should I do strength first or bike first? Should I do core first or should I do my compound movements first? Should I do my sprints first or should I do FTP work first? The vast majority of the time, train what's most important first. And what's most important depends on you. I can't tell you what to train first because I don't know what is most important for you right now. That comes down to what your goals are, what the event or race or whatever you're training for's demands are, what your weaknesses are, your current abilities, your injuries, and a lot of other factors. That's where something like going through an assessment is going to be really beneficial to know what you need at this specific point in time and what's most important. Because what you train first is what you have the most energy to bring to the table. So directing that freshness towards what you train first is going to be very helpful in the long run. And the last tip here is be consistent. Very likely you won't see the fruit of your labor tomorrow or next week or next month, maybe a year from now, maybe 6 months from now, if you're lucky. But you staying consistent with the training is going to be the difference between you seeing progress 6 months or a year from now or 2 years from now versus you being in a worse spot 6 months or 2 years from now. And you don't want to be worse off. You see, when I was training to raise my FTP, I would do a lot of workouts to raise it, but I wasn't seeing the progress next week or 2 weeks after. I was still feeling the exact same. 6 months, 1 year from now, my FTP went up by almost 50 watts onto my 5-minute power. So what's the moral of this story today? Have a structure, especially if you're under a time crunch. If you don't have much time to train, structure, intentional, intelligent planning is going to get you a long way. You can either do this planning yourself and spend that time planning and spend who knows how long planning, or you could hire a professional who's learned all the skills and help you with that. Hope this was helpful. If you want to see anything else, please let me know in the comments what could be helpful, any topic suggestions, any questions, let me know. Follow me on Instagram for a free assessment. I know you're short on time and there's value in your time. So I think it's probably better if you come up with a plan and someone helps you with that, and I would be happy to help. Currently in November of 2024, I am running a Black Friday promotion where I'm giving away $500 to one person. The next 3 people who joined coaching can be put into the draw to win that. I already have 2 people in. I opened the promotion 2 days ago. So if you want to win $500, the chance to win, let me know, follow me on Instagram, and let's chat. Ciao.